I devoted my all to my son, Ethan. For 30 years, I dedicated myself to nurturing him, laboring endlessly, caring for him during his sickness, funding his education. I sacrificed my marriage and my own life, all for the sake of ensuring he could have a better one. However, when I revealed that I had lost my job, his immediate reaction was to cast me aside, labeling me as a worthless burden, a parasite. That was the moment I ceased to hold on to my pride. I was determined not to be the mother who would be overlooked any longer. I intended to assert myself. Ethan believed I possessed nothing. What he was unaware of was that my former employer, who held a deep respect for the years I dedicated, had bequeathed me a substantial fortune. This time, I will ensure he understands that the consequences of his betrayal are far more severe than he could ever conceive. Upon arriving home, I informed my son, Ethan, that I would no longer be working for Catherine. Before I could even begin to explain, his expression shifted, and he interrupted me mid-sentence. His voice escalated, his face reddening with fury. "What could possibly lead you to make such a sudden decision to leave? That amounted to $8,000 each month. What are your next steps? Simply lounge about without contributing." The fleeting happiness I experienced upon returning home evaporated in an instant. Did he genuinely believe I walked away from that job merely to relax? I returned with the intention of simplifying their lives. His words struck me with a jarring intensity, yet I refrained from responding with anger. I was aware that he had faced significant pressure over the last few years. Nicole, his wife, hailed from a family that held little regard for ours. Her mother is a university professor, while her father is employed in local government. They have consistently held a condescending view of Ethan's origins. To them, their daughter had settled for less. Nicole, mirroring their behavior, relentlessly poked fun at him, highlighting his salary, his background, and anything else she could find to undermine his self-assurance. Nevertheless, I thought that once they learned about the $8 million inheritance Catherine left me, they would finally perceive Ethan differently. Perhaps it's time to show him a bit of respect for a change. However, I refrained from mentioning the financial aspect. Not at this moment. Instead, I brought up the other reason I had returned home. "Didn't you mention that Nicole is intending to start a family soon?" I decided to return early to offer my assistance, provide support during the pregnancy, aid in recovery afterward, and perhaps even help with the baby. In a heartbeat, Nicole's demeanor shifted to one of icy detachment. I could have sworn she even let out a scoff. She stated plainly that recovery after childbirth necessitates professional care. "In the past, you held a position as a housekeeper. What do you understand about that?" Her mother, Susan, cast me a scornful glance and interjected seamlessly. "Caring for a newborn involves much more than just changing diapers and preparing bottles. It's a craft. What you require is genuine training. This task requires a level of expertise that only seasoned professionals can manage." Their condescensions flowed together so effortlessly, it was evident that this routine had been meticulously practiced beforehand. And just like that, I found myself dismissed as an inadequate caregiver. A quiet, sardonic chuckle escaped me. Everything remained the same. They continued to perceive me as inferior. Nevertheless, in the interest of harmony, I managed a smile and remarked, "If everything is already set, I won't interfere. I'll entrust the baby care to you." Susan rolled her eyes, as if that was the only reasonable thing I had uttered all night. "Very well," she responded. "However, you will take care of the expenses for the nanny and the baby nurse. I will take care of the recruitment and organization." That single line rendered me utterly speechless, a constricting knot tightening in my chest. Ethan dove right in, seamlessly continuing from where Susan had paused, as if there had been no interruption at all. "Absolutely, Mom, you really shouldn't have left that job. Our costs are on the verge of doubling shortly. It would be wise to continue your efforts." That's when it struck me, unmistakably vivid. They always expected me to keep pushing forward, never allowing a moment of respite. A consistent income was all that was required to support the home. I was merely a worker to them, just a living embodiment of the A-team. My expression became steely. I am 58 years old. I believe it's time for me to take a break and step back. Done with work? Nicole released a sardonic chuckle. You lack a pension altogether. Which retirement are you referring to? Her words hit me like a freight train. Years ago, I had the intention to contribute to a retirement plan. You all advised me to save the money and contribute to paying off your mortgage sooner instead. Now you just bring that up to me. Nicole flicked her hair and retorted. Your income was quite disappointing. Who advised you to purchase a home beyond your means without securing financing? Better planning was necessary. Ethan, attempting to soothe Nicole, elevated his voice directed at me. That's enough, Mom. Nicole is on a journey to conceive. You're only adding to her stress. This is the moment when financial support is crucial, and your assistance is essential. You remain in excellent condition. You have every reason to continue your journey for another 2 decades. Hold off on the retirement discussions until you hit 80. 2 more decades. I stood still, emptied by an overwhelming tide of sorrow that eluded my expression. After all I had contributed, every sacrifice made, every hour spent, every dollar earned, I remained nothing more than a source of income in their perspective. That was the moment I genuinely perceived it for what it truly represented. All this chatter about respect and gratitude feels like nothing more than sweetened deceptions to keep me toiling away. During Ethan's college days, he had already begun his relationship with Nicole. In an effort to provide them with a better life and to win over Nicole's critical family, I made the difficult decision to leave everything behind and relocate to a new city, taking on the role of a live-in housekeeper, all to save enough money for their dream home. Not a single cent was paid, yet the deed carried solely their names. In that moment, with tears glistening in their eyes, they promised me that one day, when circumstances improved, they would look after me. Your well-deserved life is within reach at last. But now I understand what they were referring to when they spoke of the life that is rightfully mine. A lifetime of relentless toil until my body finally succumbs at 80. I fought to keep my emotions in check, steadied my tone, and declared with conviction, I announced my retirement. That is conclusive. No one has the right to decide that for me. Susan must have understood that I was genuinely serious and concerned that I might truly withdraw my support for them. Her tone immediately became gentler. We get it, really. One must embrace a pragmatic perspective. Unfortunately, we don't have any extra space available in the house for you. Surely, you don't think this can last indefinitely, do you? However, I do have a solution that could work for both sides. I squinted my eyes. There was something in her expression that sent a twist through my stomach. I happened to be aware of an affluent family in search of a live-in assistant. Attractive compensation, with accommodation and meals provided. You've tackled that type of task previously. The transition should be straightforward. With a sly grin, Nicole leaped into the conversation. That's an excellent idea, indeed. Your assistance could significantly lighten our financial burden. Your earnings can contribute to the costs of running your home. Sounds like a mutually beneficial situation, doesn't it? Susan shrugged and remarked, You're not exactly the type who requires much downtime, after all. Returning to work wouldn't be the end of the world. Don't rush to decline. Simply take a chance on it. Should you excel, there's a chance you could remain for an extended period. My face grew increasingly frigid with each passing moment. I have already resigned. I refuse to step foot in anyone's home for work again. Susan's smile disappeared. Her gaze turned keen, assessing with precision. All right then, if you've truly decided to move on from working for others, that's your choice. She hesitated, her tone becoming light yet tinged with tension. A senior residence is located in close proximity. well-equipped amenities, satisfactory dining options, and comfortable accommodations. A work-based stay could be an option for you to consider. Perhaps assistance in the kitchen or cleaning services. A means to justify your presence. Nicole let out an exasperated sigh and dismissed the situation with a scoff. That sounds much more sensible. It's unreasonable to think you can stay in a hotel indefinitely and have us cover the expenses. In assisted living, you would certainly be contributing your fair share. Cease your reliance on us to support you. Anger bubbled within me, yet I compelled myself to remain calm. I glanced over at Ethan. Do you genuinely believe it's right to send your own mother to clean floors in a retirement home just to ensure she has enough to eat? His eyes flickered to the side, yet he made an effort to maintain his facade of reason. Mom, let's be practical. You've often expressed a desire for independence. Isn't this the most elegant approach to accomplish that? You take care of yourself, and we have no obligations to one another. Moreover, he remarked, retrieving his phone, there's currently an available spot. I previously made a call to inquire. You can settle in as early as today. Suddenly, he began to dial the number once more, right before my eyes. It was almost unbelievable, the scene unfolding before my eyes. The child I had devoted my whole life to nurturing was now so quick to push me away, as if I were nothing more than a burden. My hands shook, and tears flowed down my cheeks, relentless. Ethan, I poured my heart and soul into raising you. I exhausted my savings to purchase a home for you. So, at this point, do you only see me as a weight you're eager to cast aside? Is this the way you show gratitude to your mother? For a fleeting moment, a shadow of guilt passed through his gaze. Yet it was swiftly consumed by fury. He sent my suitcase tumbling to the ground with a swift kick. Do you believe you experienced hardship? That was your decision. If you hadn't separated from my father, we wouldn't be in this financial situation. You had the chance to give me a life of wealth, and you took that away. Allow me to share something with you, Margaret. You will be indebted to me for eternity. I remained frozen, captivated by his bloodshot gaze while a heavy, persistent ache ripped through my chest, akin to a dull blade slowly twisting, carving into all that remained of me. He was completely unaware. I ended my marriage solely for his sake. If I hadn't left that marriage, his so-called affluent father would never have acknowledged him as his son. Indeed, he could have found himself cast into foster care, regarded as a neglected stray, unwanted by all. Each sacrifice I endured, every decision I faced, every tear I shed, was for him to have the opportunity for a complete life. Yet here he stood, lashing out like a trapped beast, accusing me of shattering the future I fought tirelessly to safeguard. I placed a hand over my heart, attempting to calm the tempest within me. Yet the pain only intensified. All those years of dedication, of giving, of affection, suddenly seemed like the harshest trick life could have pulled on me. Ethan was not my biological child. He was taken in by a new family. When I first laid eyes on him, I was dedicating my time at the local child welfare center. At that time, he had just turned 1. Delicate as a newborn, lips kissed by frost, his small form devoid of vitality. The director informed me that Ethan was born with a serious congenital heart defect. He was left behind by his birth parents in a dumpster. A passerby caught the sound of his soft cries and took him to the orphanage. I remain uncertain about what it was that captivated me about him. Perhaps it was the way his eyes, brimming with trepidation and desire, held on to mine. Perhaps it was due to the fact that I had lost my mother at a tender age. The sight of a child in pain struck me as utterly intolerable. I returned home and had a conversation about it with my then-husband. After careful consideration, we made the decision to welcome him into our lives. From that moment forward, we traversed the nation in pursuit of hospitals and specialists, exhausting every effort to preserve Ethan's life. However, 2 years later, my husband transformed. He expressed his weariness with the responsibility of nurturing another person's offspring. He yearned for a child to call his own. He presented me with a choice: either return Ethan to the orphanage or stay behind and raise the child on my own. I acted without a moment's pause. I selected Ethan. At that time, his situation remained precarious. I was filled with dread at the thought that returning to the orphanage could lead to postponed treatment, or even worse, the loss of his life. I put in double shifts, and at times, I juggled 3 jobs simultaneously. In the quiet of the night, I would find myself at the kitchen table, my eyes weary, creating handmade crafts in a bid to earn a little extra income. And somehow, through those arduous, trying years, I managed to keep him buoyant. He endured, healed, and ultimately thrived, becoming as fit as any other boy. He actually managed to get into college. I kept the truth about his past to myself. Not out of a desire to deceive, but rather to spare him from any additional weight. He was already a delicate, uncertain child. I wished to shield him from the burden of realizing that he was initially discarded by his biological parents, only to be turned away by his adoptive father. I wished for him to hold on to the hope that kindness still existed in the world. Such love, genuine love, truly existed. Yet, in my most vivid dreams of despair, I could never have foreseen him evolving into this. Chilly, self-centered, and lacking appreciation. Amidst my anger, a small sense of relief begins to emerge. I'm so relieved I kept the trust fund to myself. If they were aware that the $8 million had already been legally transferred to me, I can only envision how much more chaotic this situation would have turned. I fixed my eyes on Ethan, my stare cold and unwavering. If this is the extent of your indifference, then so be it. From this point forward, we are finished. We are no longer connected in any way. I bent down, grasped my suitcase, and pivoted to depart. But then, out of nowhere, Susan seized my arm. What do you mean? Ethan is your child. You are meant to take charge of his future. It's not as simple as just gathering your things and leaving like this. Nicole entered, resonating with her mother's indignation. Seriously, what kind of mother behaves like that? You nurtured him, and now you wish to distance yourself from it? That is utterly reckless. A chilling laugh escaped my lips. As a college professor and an educated woman, is this truly the argument you wish to present? A parent's legal responsibility to care for a child extends only until the child reaches the age of 18. Myself. I have been there for Ethan throughout his journey into his 30s. What else could he possibly anticipate? Ethan's expression contorted, his voice escalating with rage. That doesn't qualify as parenting. That's you making poor decisions and attempting to alleviate your remorse. All the unfortunate events in my life stem from you. You are indebted to me for eternity. Then he shouted, his voice laced with malice. Did you seek my consent when you chose to bring me into existence? I nearly burst into laughter at the sheer absurdity of it all. He appeared utterly unhinged. I gazed at him as if he were an unfamiliar face. A figure that felt entirely unfamiliar to me. I must have been oblivious to have brought someone like you into this world. Perhaps, if you find yourself grappling with such profound and intricate philosophical inquiries, it might be worth considering a conversation with your birth mother. The individual who abandoned you in a refuse container. I was unsure whether he truly understood what I had just expressed. He paused for a moment, bewildered, yet the anger remained etched on his features. It was of no consequence. His understanding, or lack thereof, was no longer of any importance to me. I freed myself from Susan's hold and stepped through the door, not glancing over my shoulder. Before I knew it, furious voices erupted from behind me. Are you really severing ties with your own son? You lack any semblance of humanity. Don't let your pride get the best of you, Margaret. When you find yourself in your later years, unwell, and without anyone to care for you, let's observe how much that independence truly serves you. It's unlikely that a woman of your age will find employment. When you reach your lowest point, don't expect to return to us. I halted, pivoted gradually, and regarded them with an air of calm indifference. It would be wise for you to focus on your own concerns, I remarked with a sense of composure. Remember that the home you inhabit, the one you regard as your entitlement, was purchased with every cent I painstakingly gathered throughout the years. If I ever choose to reclaim it, don't assume you'll still have a roof over your head. Nicole marched to the doorway, jabbing a finger at my face, brimming with fury. Do not even think about laying a finger on this house. It's under the names of Ethan and me. It belongs to us by law. Your assertion holds no validity. The louder her voice grew, the more composed I became. Very well, I replied, my tone steady. Then listen closely, I won't hesitate to pay the cost of 2 homes. This house will not remain under the control of a group of unappreciative parasites. Nicole's eyes grew large with astonishment. Then she erupted in laughter, her tone dripping with sarcasm. You've completely lost your senses. 2 dwellings. It seems you might not even possess $1,000 to your name. This dwelling belongs to us. This belongs to us as a couple. You're merely a fated servant attempting to take on more than you can handle. Find your own way. Individuals like you should face the consequences of your actions. In that moment, she forcefully shut the door right in front of me. I chose not to reply. I chose not to engage in a debate. I remained completely unfazed. I turned toward the elevator, took out my phone, and began exploring listings for upscale residences in the city's most desirable areas. A sardonic smile tugged at the corners of my mouth. Moving into anything less than the finest residence in town would be a disservice to the $8 million nestled comfortably in my trust fund. That evening, I arrived at the most prestigious 5-star hotel in the heart of the city. I reached out to Catherine's private attorney and directed him to commence the legal actions necessary to recover all that was justly mine. In the days that followed, I resided in that hotel, immersing myself in the opulent real estate market of the city, exploring properties, examining listings, and arranging viewings. A week later, I found myself with an appointment to explore a coveted gated villa community. The development stood as the pinnacle of prestige in the town. I was taken aback by the sales agent who was designated to present the property to me. It was none other than Chloe, Susan's niece. The opulent real estate showroom was alive with activity. Even with the initial price tag of these villas exceeding $1 million, the allure of the project's exclusivity attracted a consistent flow of potential buyers. As I entered the magnificent lobby, a young woman with flowing hair and a bright, enthusiastic smile came up to me. Good afternoon, madam. Shall I guide you through the specifics of the project? Absolutely, I would love that. Would you be able to begin by presenting the model homes to me? I trailed behind her as we headed to the display area, but we barely took a few steps when a piercing voice echoed through the room. Who is in charge of client screening today? Are we really allowing anyone to just stroll in now? I raised my gaze. There she stood, Chloe. The niece of Susan. Nicole's relative. Our encounters were limited, yet she had made an indelible mark on my memory. Timeless ambition and a desire for elevation. The type who exudes superiority in every utterance and gesture, perpetually showcasing her exclusive dealings with elite clientele. Before I could respond, she was already making her way over, heels tapping assertively, gaze brimming with contempt. Is that you, Margaret? What brings you here? I shot her a measured look and continued on my way. I have arrived to take a look at a property. Is there an issue? She swiftly positioned herself in my way, obstructing my path with a contemptuous grin. A domestic worker? Do you believe you can manage the expenses for this place? Surely, you can't be here solely for the complimentary coffee. I've encountered many like you, feigning interest as if you're genuine customers just to grab some complimentary treats. Onlookers started to steal glances, murmuring among themselves, their faces reflecting a disquieting blend of scrutiny and intrigue, with a few even offering subtle nods as if to convey that she had a point. The young assistant next to me spoke softly, attempting to ease the tension in the air. "Chloe, I have some free time at the moment. I can guide this lady through the area." Chloe pushed her aside with no second thoughts, her gaze filled with disdain. "And who do you believe you are, instructing me on how to perform my duties?" The girl recoiled, feeling a wave of intimidation wash over her. Chloe then pivoted and signaled to two security guards. "Kindly escort this guest out of the premises, please." At this moment, a hush enveloped the showroom. Every gaze was fixed upon us. I lifted my hand with composure, halting the guards in their tracks before they could advance. "I arrived to explore a property. What reasons do you have for asking me to leave? Could you please tell me the location of your manager? I would like to have a conversation with the person responsible." I faced the gathering of people. Everyone has gathered to explore the properties as well. "Could you please let me know if I've done something wrong?" The sentinels paused, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. I stood my ground, and it was evident they preferred to steer clear of any complications. Chloe stood with her arms crossed, letting out a derisive scoff. "Proceed. Craft a vivid tableau. Let's observe the extent of your execution in this endeavor." At that moment, a young man in a sharp white shirt hurried over, sporting a sleek, professional smile. "Good afternoon, madam. My name is Alex, and I oversee sales for this project. Is there something I can help you with?" Before I had the chance to say anything, Chloe interjected. "Alex, she's only in it for the perks." I was on the verge of calling security to escort her out. Alex furrowed his brow just a bit, yet maintained a polite tone. "Excuse me, could you please provide us with some sort of financial verification? This is an exclusive showcase, and we kindly ask for verification of your purchasing capability." I swiftly retrieved a folder. "My documents have already been verified at the entrance." Chloe seized the folder from my grasp and opened it with a flourish. $5 million? Is this a joke?" Her voice rang out, echoing through the showroom, capturing the attention of nearly everyone present. "She works as a housekeeper. It's hard to believe she possesses that amount of wealth." She claimed with a sense of superiority that she understood her background better than anyone else present. "This must be a fabrication. We must not allow someone like her to manipulate us." Alex lingered, a furrowed brow betraying the turmoil within, unmistakably trapped in a dilemma. I chose not to engage in a debate. Instead, I pulled out my phone, launched my banking app, and raised it for their view. The youthful aide leaned closer, murmuring numbers quietly to herself. 1 million? Oh my goodness! More than 8 million! Whispers of astonishment spread among the onlookers. Eyes widened in surprise, shifting from judgment to a blend of curiosity and a hint of admiration. A voice close by murmured, "Wow, she's really got some serious wealth." Chloe's complexion shifted dramatically, cycling swiftly from a deep crimson to a sickly green and finally to an eerie white. She appeared as though she wished to disappear into the ground beneath her. Yet Chloe remained undeterred. She persisted, her tone cutting and resolute. "Alex, that banking app on her phone must be a scam. It's hard to believe she possesses that amount of wealth." Alex's expression shifted, his brow knitting tightly. "Chloe, that's sufficient." Then he faced me with a calm, courteous demeanor. "I sincerely apologize, ma'am. We acknowledge that this was an oversight on our end, and we will address it accordingly. I will promptly assign our most seasoned client manager to assist you." I gestured gently, presenting a serene smile, before shifting my attention to the young woman who had welcomed me earlier. "Not necessary. She is absolutely okay. Extremely polished. I would like her to give me a tour of the property." Alex appeared somewhat apprehensive. She has just begun and is still in the training phase, to be precise. I was simply concerned that she may lack sufficient experience. But I like her, I stated with conviction, allowing for no debate. Today, I'm finalizing the purchase of the house, and I intend to proceed with her assistance. Alex nodded without hesitation, a mix of excitement and nervousness evident on their face. Absolutely. Certainly. Monica, please ensure that you provide exceptional attention to our esteemed visitor. Chloe lingered at the edge, her expression rigid, her lips quivering with contained irritation. She observed my departure, simmering with anger, then whispered something to herself. Merely a fanciful task, masquerading as something more significant. I turned my attention away from her and gestured towards the scale model positioned prominently in the center of the showroom. I expressed my desire to see this one to Monica. The instant I beheld that villa, I understood. Impressive ceilings in the living room, a generous backyard garden, a sunroom extending beyond 200 square feet. Above all, it was completely furnished and ready for immediate occupancy. I chose this one, I declared confidently. Let's initiate the documentation process. Monica's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. Excuse me, but are you certain you wouldn't like to explore a few additional choices? I'm available and would love to share more with you. I declined, I said. This is more than sufficient. She was overflowing with happiness. Madam, this marks the inaugural sale I have successfully finalized. You bring me good fortune. We made our way to the signing area, and as I went over the paperwork, I could hear a soft murmur rising behind me. Wow, she just signed without a moment's hesitation. 150 grand, not a flinch. It seems that wealth has a way of speaking for itself, doesn't it? That is the true essence of prosperity. Don't let yourself be deceived, someone whispered. Didn't Chloe mention that she's merely a housekeeper? Most likely showing off her boss's funds. Nowadays, even those in service have mastered the art of performance. She's probably just flaunting someone else's financial backing. Honestly, what sort of employer would have faith in a maid handling that amount of money? Countless. Then Chloe's voice pierced the murmurs, infused with that sharp, gossipy edge she carried effortlessly. Oh, you can't even imagine. She transcends the typical role of a housekeeper. Absolutely not. So, what exactly is she? She serves as a live-in companion for affluent elderly gentlemen. It's about more than just the surface cleaning, if you know what I mean. Absolutely not. At her age? That's utterly disgraceful. It's frustrating how some individuals are willing to peddle just about anything for a quick buck. If her family found out, wouldn't they feel a deep sense of shame? I placed the contract aside and faced Monica. Monica, I said, maintaining a calm and composed smile. Would you mind fetching Alex for me once more? I am interested in acquiring an additional property. Silence enveloped the room. The atmosphere seemed to come to a standstill, as if time itself had paused. Monica's eyes grew large, her voice quivering with astonishment. Are you certain, ma'am? Are you interested in having another one? Indeed, I stated with a sense of tranquility. A place to call home. One as a financial opportunity. Then I beamed a bit more brightly. Greetings. I have a small request that I would appreciate Alex's assistance with. Alex came back quickly, his smile even more radiant, practically shining with excitement. Greetings once more, madam. Kindly inform me of how I may assist you. I have confirmed the purchase of the first property, I stated. I am prepared to finalize the agreement. I would also like to include a second unit. However, I hesitated, my voice becoming icy. I anticipate that your team will take action regarding the unprofessional conduct of some staff members. Alex's smile disappeared. His eyes roamed the room before settling on Chloe. Chloe, he said with a hint of irritation, are you stirring up trouble once more? Extend your sincerest apologies to the client. At this moment, Chloe raised her chin with a fierce determination, standing her ground unwaveringly. What is the reason for me to say sorry? I merely spoke the truth. She was once employed as a housekeeper. One of those live-in individuals who exclusively serves wealthy elderly gentlemen. And don't give me that look, her son said it himself. I gradually raised my head, my gaze sharpening as I focused intently on her. Are you suggesting that my son mentioned that to you? Allow me to share something with you in exchange. He once remarked that your collection of completed transactions wasn't a result of your alleged talents, but rather the nights you spent in intimate company with your clients. Is that really the case? Chloe's complexion faded to a ghostly hue. Her lips quivered. You are not being truthful. That's defamatory. Oh, didn't you just speak ill of me a few moments ago? Now you have a clear grasp of what defamation entails. I glanced at Alex, who instantly recognized the signal. His expression darkened. Chloe, that's sufficient. Ensure her safe exit from the premises. As of today, your employment has been concluded. Chloe felt a surge of anxiety. Her eyes brimmed with emotion, overflowing with tears. Alex, I assure you, I was telling the truth. She once worked as a cleaner. Yet, Alex's tone stayed resolute. Your actions have significantly breached the company's conduct policies. Your employment has been terminated, effective immediately. I lifted my hand to halt the advance of the security guards. Wait a moment, I said with a sense of tranquility. She's staying put for the time being. She has tarnished my reputation, and I refuse to overlook this. In that very moment, I pulled out my phone and made the call. Greetings, indeed. This is the law enforcement agency. I wish to submit a report regarding defamation and public harassment. After a brief interval of 10 minutes, a pair of officers made their entrance into the showroom. Upon listening to my account and examining the incident, they provided Chloe with a formal warning and emphasized their stance clearly. Had she not extended a public apology, I would have been fully justified in pursuing legal action. Cornered and trembling with fury, Chloe finally muttered through gritted teeth. I apologize. She cast one final scornful look at me and Monica before marching away, her eyes aflame with jealousy, particularly as she watched Monica getting ready to finalize the second sale. The very Monica she had dismissed just an hour earlier was now the highlight of the day. Ultimately, I executed contracts for both properties, fully paid, without a moment's hesitation. Monica stood beside me, her eyes glistening with deep emotion. She struggled to articulate her thoughts. I truly appreciate your help, ma'am. After 3 months of dedication without a single sale, today brought the thrill of 2 units sold back to back. You truly are my miracle. In a heartfelt gesture of appreciation, she took it upon herself to personally organize the deep cleaning and move-in preparations for me. I happily agreed. After a long time, I experienced a sense of liberation, as if all the shame, anger, and grudges had been cleared away like the dust at the entrance of my new villa. That evening, just as I stepped back into my hotel, my phone buzzed to life. What on earth did you do to mess up Chloe's job? The entire family is now pursuing us, insisting on explanations. What steps do you intend to take to resolve this issue? I responded with a light-hearted tone. Allow them to approach. That's an issue for you to handle now. Haven't I mentioned that before? It's over. I am not indebted to you in any way. You've created quite the mess and now you want us to handle the consequences? That doesn't seem correct. That really got under my skin. Issues? Is this a joke? Chloe publicly slandered me. She invited this upon herself. Law enforcement was present. Do you really believe they just appeared for amusement? If this escalates into a larger issue, don't assume you'll emerge unscathed either. Ethan fell silent for a moment. As he began to speak once more, there was a distinct gentleness in his voice. Okay, let's proceed. By the way, there was that uncertain inflection that measured change in engagement. So, Mom, who is your new boss, really? They must be incredibly wealthy. It appears they are treating you quite well, don't you think? I chuckled quietly to myself. Once more, the aroma of wealth lingered in the air, and he was prowling about like a determined tracker. Who they are is of no consequence. This isn't about you, Ethan. Allow me to reiterate, we are finished. For the betterment. With that, I concluded the call and severed all connections, blocking every number associated with him, Nicole, and their entire family. What I didn't anticipate, however, was that merely days after settling into my new home, I would encounter someone I thought I had left behind, Susan. That afternoon, I found myself in an upscale piano showroom in the heart of downtown, exploring the various choices for a grand piano. As I nestled onto the bench, poised to explore the keys, the front doors burst open, unleashing a whirlwind of footsteps that reverberated through the room. In walked Susan, enveloped by her constant entourage of socialite companions, their voices piercing and brimming with self-importance. What type of shop is this? Susan let out a derisive laugh. Allowing anyone to come and play the piano at will? What a lack of professionalism. Her gaze fell upon me, and the sarcasm oozed from her smile. Margaret, did you remember to wash your hands before handling that instrument? Haven't you been involved in the healthcare field all this time? Who knows what kinds of germs might be lurking on your fingers? Who could have imagined that such a costly piano could be so nonchalantly tainted? Her small group snickered and murmured to one another, casting glances at me filled with thinly veiled disdain. Is that the housekeeper-in-law you mentioned? One of them inquired, her voice unrestrained and unapologetic. Tisdy. Is she really just coming here to pretend because she can't buy one? What a mortifying situation. A different woman, her hair elegantly arranged in a striking bun and large sunglasses resting on her nose, cast me a scornful glance from head to toe. There's nothing quite as annoying as someone attempting to exude sophistication while toting fake designer bags. The two sales associates at the showroom shared a fleeting look, their discomfort palpable. One of them came up to me, presenting a friendly and polished smile. By all means, do keep at the piano, ma'am. That's precisely their purpose. No purchase necessary. I acknowledged with a nod, then redirected my focus to the sheet music, readying myself to perform. In an effort to alleviate the mounting tension in the room, the other sales representative made their way over to Susan and her group. Welcome, ladies. Is there a specific model you would prefer to explore? I would be delighted to guide you through our collection. Susan cast a frigid look my way before responding with a cutting tone. We had planned to take a look, but now I'm feeling uncertain. It is evident that this store lacks concern for both its instruments and its customers. I offered the store associate a serene smile and stated clearly, I'll require a little more time to sample a few. I am determined to make a purchase today. The woman with the bun rolled her eyes and sank into a nearby sofa, her arms crossed defiantly. Of course you do. I'll remain right here and observe how you navigate your way through this situation. I'm eager to witness your graceful exit without making a purchase. Susan pulled at her friend's arm. Let's venture to a different place. Being around individuals like this really dampens my spirits. Yet, I was aware of the truth. Susan had already been informed by Chloe about my purchase of 2 villas. She seemed hesitant to accept it, apprehensive that I might once more demonstrate her doubts were unfounded. However, her friend remained resolute and unyielding. I'm staying right here, the woman with the bun said, a smirk playing on her lips. I won't rest tonight unless I witness this woman stumble and fall. Her words appeared to inspire the rest of the group. They remained poised, anticipating what they believed would unfold into an amusing calamity. I selected a cherished composition and allowed my fingers to glide softly over the keys. The notes drifted into the room, gentle and unwavering, the melody of the Moonlight Sonata weaving through the atmosphere. The woman with the bun twisted her mouth in a sneer and let out a derisive snort. What on earth is that? Resonates like chaos. Who was her teacher in this art? Does she really believe she fits in a piano store with that chaos? Cut me some slack. Yet, before I could utter a word, the sales associate beside me began to applaud, a look of sincere appreciation lighting up his face. Wow, that was truly exquisite. Truly, that is one of the most poignant interpretations of Moonlight Sonata I've encountered in quite some time. The woman with the bun flicked her eyes upward with such force that she almost lost her balance. Oh, come on. If she truly possessed that level of talent, she wouldn't find herself trapped in the mundane existence she currently endures. Your compliments are a bit too transparent, darling. At that moment, a handful of young individuals entered the showroom. Silently, they lingered behind me, absorbing every unspoken thought. As soon as I removed my fingers from the keys, a wave of unexpected applause surged from the audience. Wow, that was truly remarkable. After years of studying piano, I find myself still struggling to evoke that depth of emotion in Moonlight Sonata. Honestly, you conveyed the entire ethereal, surreal atmosphere with such ease. You are truly remarkable. Susan stood nearby, her brow furrowing, eyes narrowing in evident perplexity. She found it difficult to comprehend. How could someone she had always regarded with disdain move with such elegance, such proficiency? In all honesty, I attributed this moment of tranquility, this melody, to my departed employer. She hailed from a distinguished lineage, truly the most graceful and genuine woman I have ever encountered. She never once regarded me with disdain. In truth, she regarded me more as a younger sister than as someone who worked for her. Whenever she found herself with some spare moments, she extended an invitation for me to join her in exploring music, painting, and literature, and I always embraced the opportunity. With unwavering commitment, I immersed myself in my studies, feeling a profound appreciation for her kindness and understanding. Throughout the years, she transformed more than just my way of living. He completely revitalized my essence. I kept playing, allowing the keys to express my thoughts, as the bun-haired woman's expression darkened with the increasing flow of admiration. She bowed her head, visibly disturbed. In a final, frantic bid to reclaim her dignity, she jerked her head upward. What does it matter if you can only play a single song? Significant matter. If you truly possess such remarkable talent, go ahead and purchase the piano immediately. My decision was already made. With a sense of composure, I presented my card to the associate. Thank you, ma'am, he said with a bright smile. The total comes to $15,000. I input my PIN. Transaction has been successfully approved. Could you please provide your name so I can complete the invoice? He inquired. Certainly, I acknowledged and noted it down. Margaret Turner. The woman with the bun turned pale. Her head snapped toward Susan, a look of disbelief etched across her face. You mentioned that she was employed by another person, and that the villas she purchased didn't actually belong to her. Susan's expression changed. She approached, her face a mix of incredulity and a deeper, more complex emotion. Did you purchase this piano on your own? What about those 2 villas? Those belong to you as well. A smile graced my lips. The invoices and contracts bear my name. If they don't belong to me, then whose could they possibly belong to, if not yours? Her expression contorted in an instant, a whirlwind of disbelief, jealousy, doubt, and deep remorse flashing across her features. Margaret, you were merely a housekeeper. Where did all that wealth originate? Each dollar I spend has been earned through legitimate and rightful means. My voice was piercingly frigid. Susan let out a derisive laugh. Oh, come on. It seems you might have engaged in some questionable behavior to obtain it. The woman with the bun interjected without hesitation. Indeed, she could potentially be a fraud. That's how individuals are generating quick cash these days. As soon as those words escaped her lips, a previously silent woman abruptly reacted. "Excuse me? Fraudster? That's not something to joke about." She searched for her phone, her hands trembling. "Greetings, emergency services? I require assistance from law enforcement. A con artist is present here." Before anyone had a chance to respond, she abruptly ended the call and marched over to me, attempting to seize my clothing in a whirlwind of anger. The store employees hurried to restrain her. She was weeping, yelling, utterly frantic. At last, I grasped the motivation for her outburst. 6 months prior, she had fallen victim to a scheme that cost her more than $100,000. She had never reclaimed it, and the hurt still simmered so profoundly within her that even a casual reference to deceit fractured her composure. Her anger wasn't directed at me. It was directed at a specter from her history. The authorities responded with remarkable speed. To my astonishment, it was the very same 2 officers I had encountered on the day I acquired the villas. One of them lifted his brows in acknowledgement, a grin playing at the edge of his lips. "Ah, it's you once more, madam," I acknowledged with a nod. Before I had the chance to say anything, the woman with curly hair leaped to her feet and exclaimed, "She's a scammer, officer. Detain her immediately." The officer's smile disappeared. He adopted a grave demeanor. "Excuse me, do you possess any evidence to support this claim?" "Evidence?" she retorted. "Absolutely not. I'm simply offering a suggestion. You ought to look into her on your own. Honestly, it's hard to believe that a housemaid could manage to buy villas and grand pianos. Does that seem typical to you?" The officer let out a weary sigh, gesturing with his hands. "Perhaps she struck it rich in the lottery. Such things occur." Susan swiftly interjected, her voice cutting through the air. "That person? Hitting the jackpot? That's absurd. She has yet to experience a day of fortune in her life. Raised in the absence of parental guidance, experienced a marriage that didn't succeed, and held positions in lower-income sectors. Individuals like her don't experience fortune, they find themselves in dire straits. She lacks formal education and a defined career trajectory. What other options could she have explored to acquire that amount of money, aside from questionable dealings?" The officer's demeanor grew stern. "Madam, I suggest you choose your words carefully. Allegations made without substantiation constitute defamation and serve as personal assaults. If necessary, we can initiate a case." Susan's complexion drained of color. She shut down immediately. A tempest of feelings churned within me, frustration, pain, anger. However, above all, it's about clarity. Life had presented its challenges. I had spent my formative years in solitude. Following the divorce, I went to great lengths to support a son who never seemed to value anything I did. Now, those who once cherished my sacrifices were wielding my moments of vulnerability as weapons against me. In the grand tapestry of my life, if there were to be a figure embodying rivalry, it would undoubtedly be Susan, along with her daughter Nicole. And Ethan. They were far more than simply ungrateful. They were the true afflictions in my narrative. But now, I finally recognized them for their true selves. I took out my phone, launched my banking app, and silently turned the screen toward Susan, raising it so she and everyone else could take a look. "Do you not wish to see me joyful? Unfortunate circumstances. It seems the universe had a different design in mind. Do you notice this? More than 8 million. Everything is above board. Everything belongs to me. No hidden agendas, no deceit. Only gifts that will remain beyond your comprehension. If that unsettles you, then I trust it will spoil your hunger. Are you really suggesting that I've advanced through questionable means? Proceed. Go ahead, take your best shot. I will be here, ready and waiting." The water cup slipped from Susan's grasp, shattering on the floor with a resounding clang. The sound of her pride fracturing was almost audible to me. 8 million. How on earth do you possess that kind of wealth? Her voice trembled, fear cutting through her skepticism. Then her expression contorted, as if a realization had just dawned upon her. Ah, I see it clearly now. That's the reason you severed your connection with your son. You became wealthy and discarded him without a second thought. How cruel, Margaret. You truly astonish me. I faced her, my voice cutting, resolute. Please don't distort the narrative, Susan. I was prepared to bequeath every penny to your daughter and my son. That was my intention. But then you also concluded I was a burden the moment I left my job. You discarded me from the house as if I were refuse. Do you really believe I overlooked that? The residence you currently inhabit? Every dollar that purchased it originated from me. You not only expelled me, but you also expected me to clean floors at a mediocre nursing home just to continue providing for your family. You even proposed that I take a position as a live-in servant for some wealthy old man. Only time will reveal the nature of the services you envisioned. Tell me, Susan, do you possess even a hint of decency anymore? I could have provided your entire family with a life of opulence. However, that is not the case. Absolutely not. You brought this upon yourselves. I glanced at the increasing throng of spectators. Tell me, don't these ungrateful individuals deserve all that they've lost? The atmosphere among the crowd transformed. Their eyes, previously alive with chatter, now overflowed with scrutiny, directed pointedly at Susan and her companions. Susan's face flushed crimson, reminiscent of a trickster caught in the act. You are not being truthful. We never suggested that you should take a job with some elderly gentleman. Ah. I spoke in a composed manner. Should I share the recording with everyone present? Allow your precise expressions to resonate with them. Her complexion drained of color, and for a fleeting moment, I glimpsed genuine terror reflected in her gaze. That recording is likely manipulated. I refuse to engage with that nonsense. Her voice trembled as she turned away, making her way toward the exit. Margaret, you possess a deep-seated cruelty. One day, you'll face the consequences of your actions. With that, she burst out, the door crashing shut in her wake. I finally let out a breath. It had come to an end, at least for the moment. Yet, deep down, I understood that it was far from complete. When there's that much at stake, individuals like Susan and Ethan are bound to speak up sooner rather than later. I was taken aback by how swiftly Ethan reappeared in the scene. The following morning, the concierge presented me with an enormous bouquet of flowers, stating that it had been left at the gate for my enjoyment. I scowled, brought the flowers indoors, and began to sort through them. At the very heart of it all lay a card. Hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead. With all my love, your son Ethan. I was on the verge of laughter, utterly appalled. It was so brazen it bordered on the absurd. I swiftly grabbed the bouquet and flung it directly into the kitchen trash can. In that moment, I captured a photo that encompassed crushed petals, bent stems, and a crumpled card, all beautifully arranged in a single frame, and sent it off to the gatehouse. From this point forward, decline any requests or communications from this individual. Please send him this picture as well. I didn't merely desire his rejection, I craved his humiliation. Indeed, I never got another bouquet from him after that. Yet he persevered. He simply intensified the situation. Each day, he found himself standing outside the gated community, anticipation etched on his face. Whether the skies were clear or cloudy, on a weekday or a day of rest, he would be present, waiting with an intense longing. Each time I arrived or departed, he would don yet another sorrowful performance, reminiscent of a figure in a low-quality drama. On one fateful day, he found himself on his knees on the sidewalk, tears streaming down his face in a fit of despair. "Mom, I really hope you can let go of your anger now. Return home, I made a mistake. Mom, regardless of everything, I will always be your son. How can you treat me with such indifference? I didn't even take a glance in his direction. His dramatic flair only sent shivers down my spine. Eventually, I became so weary of the situation that I decided to hire a full-time driver. Each day, I found myself seated in the rear, windows closed, smoothly passing through the front gate and into the garage of my villa. Without eye contact, without conversation, there's no opportunity for him to connect with me. Ethan maintained his efforts for a complete fortnight. But once it became evident that I wasn't going to change my mind, he ultimately conceded. I believed he did, or so I thought. Instead, he altered his approach. He sifted through everything and somehow got in touch with my ex-husband, Richard, who was also Ethan's father at one point. That's when events started to unfold in a manner I never saw coming. Ethan had given up on the idea of reconciliation. He sought to dominate me, to pressure me, to dismantle me entirely. It became clear. If he couldn't attain his desires, he would prefer to witness my ruin. One afternoon, the phone rang, breaking the stillness of the day. It was Richard. It had been more than 2 decades since our last conversation. I was completely baffled by how he managed to obtain my number. Just wanted to let you know, he remarked nonchalantly. Ethan paid me a visit. He wept and implored me to persuade you to return home. I'm not sure what transpired between you both, and honestly, I made it clear that it's not something I concern myself with. I just reminded him that I'm not his biological father. I made it clear that whatever is happening between the two of you is not my concern. I find myself on the periphery. Yet, he was adamant that I was being dishonest, even going so far as to appear at my workplace and create a commotion. I felt compelled to undergo a paternity test just to silence his incessant chatter. I held back some of the truth from him, however. I fulfilled the vow I made all those years back. I chose not to disclose his true background. Ultimately, he is now aware that I am not his father. Yet, you remain his singular and cherished mother. I ended the call, already preparing for what was to come. I was aware it was just a question of time before Ethan would show up at my door once more. When he did, I would be prepared. I would share all my thoughts with him. The reality he was so eager to escape. I would advise him to seek out the mother who left him in a dumpster and to cease his attempts to disrupt my life. Yet, that clash never materialized. Instead, Ethan ventured into a more shadowy path. An unexpected twist. About a week later, I observed something unusual. The perception of me by those in the neighborhood had shifted. Their gazes held a lingering intensity, while their smiles became increasingly strained and insincere. Initially, I dismissed it, but then Monica reached out to me one afternoon. Margaret, I simply wanted to express that I recognize your kindness. Try not to let the opinions of others get to you. There was a sense of bewilderment within me. What are others expressing? That was the moment I discovered the truth behind everything that had been unfolding. I would rise to fame online. However, not the favorable type. Ethan began his daily live streaming journey on a well-known social media platform. What is the title of his channel? The Story of My Mother's Departure. I entered and beheld the complete image. He hadn't directly suggested that I was involved in anything as scandalous as being a mistress. No, he had chosen a path far more treacherous. He spun a tale designed to evoke sympathy, portraying himself as a forsaken, sorrowful son, while casting me as the heartless, greedy antagonist. During his streams, he expressed sentiments such as, "My mother never truly loved me. I put in so much effort and dedication, yet she couldn't even offer me the slightest support. When I started college, she moved to another city to become a live-in assistant for affluent families, leaving me to navigate life alone in a small rental apartment. At the time of my marriage, she offered no financial support whatsoever. Even when my wife was expecting, she never extended a hint of assistance. Now that she's unexpectedly wealthy, she's severed all ties with me, as if I were never there at all. I don't care about money, all I desire is for her to recognize me as her son. Yet, she won't even utter my name. She resides in a grand estate, travels in opulent vehicles, and relishes a life of affluence, while I face scrutiny and embarrassment in public spaces. The comments section erupted. Individuals divide into two factions. Some felt compassion for him, while others labeled me as unfeeling. Naturally, there were those who stirred the pot. A mother of that nature should not be referred to as such. She ought to feel a sense of shame. He evokes such sympathy. I would go to great lengths to provide him with the affection he has always missed. His live stream went viral. His follower count soared dramatically. He even began offering merchandise and products on his channel, capitalizing on the wave of sympathy donations from his alleged supporters. We'll provide the comfort you always longed for. You are worthy of so much more, dear one. She is unworthy of joy. And then the situation deteriorated further. Individuals started probing into my private affairs. My identity. This is my photograph. Here is my address. Everything began to spread through comment sections and reposts. I had officially transformed into the embodiment of a social media antagonist, the most cold-hearted mother on the internet. That evening, my phone rang once more. This time, it was my legal counsel. Margaret, my lawyer has advised that we can initiate legal action immediately. We can initiate the process to eliminate harmful content, seek a public acknowledgement of wrongdoing, and pursue restitution for the damages incurred. I took a moment to gather my thoughts before allowing a serene smile to spread across my face. Take your time. Allow him to continue for a bit more. I intend to handle this myself initially. That very evening, I created my own account on StreamNet and kicked off my own live channel. I named it, "So This Is the Mother Who Left Ethan Behind." Initially, I joined Ethan's stream and contributed several $1,000s in donations, immediately capturing attention and causing the live chat to surge. Subsequently, I transmitted a message that was visible to all on the screen. "Hello everyone, I'm the mother Ethan has mentioned. He has been weeping for weeks, claiming that I severed his financial assistance. Join me on my channel, and I'll reveal the reality. This evening, I will be distributing $100,000 in cash prizes. Feel free to join if you wish. Priority is given to those who arrive first." In mere moments, an influx of viewers surged into my stream. Traffic surged dramatically, and I began dispatching the promised rewards. The comments section erupted with enthusiasm. "Thank you, dear benefactor. This is the true content royalty, jotting down insights. She shows more affection than my own mother." Harnessing the surge of viral energy, I officially launched my live broadcast. I was direct and to the point, without embellishments. I addressed the camera directly. To begin with, I did sever financial connections with Ethan, but that doesn't imply I'm devoid of compassion, nor does it mean I left him behind. Individuals are entitled to the complete narrative. I didn't walk away because my feelings for him had faded. I turned away as his insatiable greed grew too much to bear. Upon receiving the inheritance from my late employer, I was determined to pass it all on to Ethan and his wife. But are you aware of what they said in return? Rather than expressing appreciation, they charged me with trying to take advantage and conspired to evict me from the home. They even proposed that I live with a stranger, an elderly man, as his live-in assistant, as if my sole purpose was to keep working and contribute financially to their home. In their eyes, I was not a mother. I existed as a bank account. While I spoke, I presented a scan of the trust documents from my previous employer. A notarized document confirming my inheritance of over $8 million in assets. The funds I possess originate from a lawful trust, bequeathed to me by a woman who embraced me as one of her own. She possessed no offspring and designated me as her only beneficiary. The comments exploded once more. M has lost 9 million. What sort of employer behaves that way? At last, the universe is acknowledging a kind spirit. This isn't frigid, it's a clear perspective. Naturally, not everyone was persuaded. A handful of doubters emerged. Regardless, you remain his mother. Shouldn't you be there for your child? Ending ties with him after marriage seems rather harsh. I responded with composure, my gaze unwavering. Allow me to pose a question to you. Is supporting a child synonymous with being their personal ATM indefinitely? I have been his sole caregiver since he was just a year old, covering his school expenses and even purchasing a home for him. What did I receive in exchange? Doubt. Dismissal. Disregard. And being compelled to leave my own residence. They expected me to toil endlessly, fueling their way of life. As if I were an inconvenience. Then I let the last card fall. A phone conversation featuring Ethan as he works to set up my role as a live-in assistant for an elderly gentleman. The conversation had been recorded by the security system of the elderly man's home. It was irrefutable evidence. The comments surged once more. Incredible. This goes beyond mere mooching, it's a form of financial abuse. Severing ties isn't an act of malice, it's a necessity for self-preservation. This is the manifestation of guilt used as a weapon. He's not shedding tears for affection. He's weeping for cash. That's wonderful to hear, ma'am. That son had it coming to be cut off. I sensed that this was merely the start. Ethan felt the absence not of a mother, but of his financial lifeline. What about this conflict? The journey was just starting to unfold. I glanced at the torrent of comments on the screen and couldn't help but let out a soft, subdued chuckle. Then I leaned in closer to the camera, addressing the audience with intent. In reality, there was no reason to sever connections with Ethan. Immediately, the comments section was flooded with question marks. I proceeded with a sense of tranquility. Ethan was never my biological son from the start. I took him in during my time volunteering at a nearby orphanage. At that time, he had just turned 1 year old. Left to face the world with a critical congenital heart defect, he was found abandoned by his birth parents in a dumpster. He was hanging by a thread when I discovered him. I took him in solely out of kindness. I invested every last cent I possessed to secure him the medical attention he needed. What about my divorce from my ex-husband? That had nothing to do with betrayal. His insistence on having a biological child and his refusal to continue raising Ethan led to the situation. A choice was presented to me. Return Ethan to the orphanage or choose to end my marriage and raise him by myself. I selected Ethan. I relinquished my marriage, surrendered the opportunity to have my own children. Simply to offer him an opportunity for existence. I toiled through the night, served meals, tidied spaces, doing whatever was necessary. I gathered and preserved until he regained his strength. I supported him through his college journey. I even purchased a house for him with the money I worked so hard to earn. And what was my reward? He would not allow me to reside in that particular house. He cast me aside as if I were an outsider. Now he's defaming me online, asserting that I deserted him, and even circulating falsehoods that I achieved wealth through dubious means. How should I reply to someone like that? While I was speaking, I shared a collection of images. Medical expenses, educational fees, transportation receipts, healthcare charges. Every piece of a life devoted to generosity, a lifetime of selflessness immortalized in words and pages. The comments surged dramatically. He is despicable. Who treats a woman like that after she has saved his life? He exploited his adoptive mother, soaking up everything she offered, only to discard her when he was done. Repulsive. Residing in the home she purchased and yet still being shown the door. Incredible. Divine providence bestowed upon him existence, while she enriched his world with all that truly mattered. He pivoted and plunged the knife into her back. The response was swift. Audiences flocked back to Ethan's stream, inundating his comments section with expressions of indignation. How could we possibly offer our support to someone like you? How could you? This is disappointing. You portrayed yourself as the victim while draining your mother of everything she had. It is you who lacks compassion, not her. Ethan's complexion drained of color on camera. What makes you all trust her? He exclaimed. She isn't telling the truth. If I weren't her biological son, what could possibly explain all that she did for me? She's playing with your emotions. It's hard to believe anyone would go to such lengths for a child who doesn't belong to them. Returning to my stream, I found that more viewers were asking for solid evidence. I promptly uploaded a scanned copy of the official adoption certificate. This is the official document provided by the government. Confirmed, open, and genuine. The comments section burst into life once more. That's all there is to it. That concludes our conversation. She is speaking honestly. This goes beyond mere betrayal, it signifies a complete lack of moral integrity. He exploited her affection, her resources, her very existence, and yet sought to bring about her downfall. File a report against him. He should not be given a platform. Just when I believed things couldn't possibly take a turn for the worse, Ethan decided to intensify the situation. So what if I wasn't her biological child? She was under no obligation to rescue me. I didn't request that from her. If she hadn't taken me in, perhaps I would have found a true family to adopt me. She completely shattered my existence. She ought to have stayed out of my destiny. That was the breaking point. The online world erupted. You're upset that she rescued you. That is the most revolting thing I have ever come across. Reveal the true visage of this beast to all. File a report against him. At this moment, in under a day, the tide of public sentiment shifted entirely. Ethan transformed from a forsaken soul into a thankless leech, draining the life force of his adoptive mother. The platform permanently suspended his streaming channel that very night. A formal lawsuit for defamation and harassment has been filed by my lawyer against him, seeking financial compensation for the damages incurred. An injunction has been filed to legally prevent him from making any additional defamatory statements or launching attacks against me on social media platforms. In the end, the court delivered a decision that aligned with our position. Ethan faced a verdict of guilt for breaching cyber safety regulations and defamation statutes. He was instructed to compensate for damages and take care of all legal expenses. His access to streaming was taken away. His social media accounts have been permanently banned. Myself. I had finally attained total freedom. Ethan had completely vanished from my existence. And there would never be another moment like it. After another 6 months, I finally regained possession of the house that had once belonged to me. With careful attention to detail, my legal team adeptly overturned the property ownership. On the day everything came to a close, I found myself in the living room, gazing at the well-known curtains, observing the sunlight cascade over the hardwood floor. After years of waiting, I finally felt a sense of liberation, as if I had just released a breath I had been holding for ages. A few days later, Susan's daughter, who is married to Ethan, initiated divorce proceedings. With unwavering calm, she signed the documents in her lawyer's office, refraining from uttering a single unnecessary word. It was evident that she had recognized him for his true self. A man who lamented his grievances yet consistently evaded accountability, brimming with bitterness while lacking any insight into his own shortcomings. And just like that, Ethan disappeared from my existence completely. I refrained from inquiring about his whereabouts, and I felt no inclination to reflect on the past. Time flowed on. One day, while catching up with an old friend at a cafe, she casually remarked, "I heard Ethan ran off to Canada. He constantly shares his experiences, boasting about the carefree and effortless lifestyle over there." Driven by curiosity, I looked up his name on the internet. What I discovered was unsettling. The video captured him in a disheveled state, hunched beside a trash bin on a street corner, gnawing on a piece of moldy bread, his eyes vacant and unfocused. At times, a wild grin would spread across his face. At other moments, he would erupt into overwhelming cries that shook him to his core. He had completely lost his grip on reality. The individual who previously faced the camera, portraying me as the antagonist, seeking sympathy, and peddling grief for the sake of attention, had transformed into precisely what fate had in store for him, a specter lingering on the outskirts of genuine existence. Yet, I found no sense of fulfillment. Anger had faded away from me, too. He had merely transformed into the totality of his own decisions. No number of followers could rescue him. No number of falsehoods could uphold his narrative. He forfeited the compassion he had appropriated. He shattered the very essence he never cherished. And in the end, life did what it inevitably does, it caught up. I had finally emerged from a struggle that had consumed me for more than 3 decades. The 2 villas I had acquired on a whim during that tumultuous period. I capitalized on the housing market upswing and exited with a substantial profit. What once represented anger and resistance has now become the cornerstone of my upcoming journey. In time, I settled in a serene town by the lake, located on the western fringe of the city. It may not have been the priciest area, yet it encompassed all my dreams and desires. Sunlight poured through the windows. In my garden, wisteria and roses flourished beautifully. The aroma of my beloved dark roast coffee filled the kitchen at all times. My easel rested beneath the trees, anticipating the leisurely afternoons filled with strokes of color. The atmosphere was pure, time seemed to linger, and existence felt tender. No one referred to me as Mom anymore, only to ask for something. No one ever suggested that I lacked warmth. No one asserted that I had fallen short. For the first time, I could sense my own breath intertwining with the music beneath the warm sunlight. At last, I truly found a sense of belonging within myself. Occasionally, individuals inquire, "Do you have any regrets about adopting Ethan?" I once pondered deeply over that question. Yet, upon hearing it now, I can't help but smile gently and shake my head in amusement. No, I declare. No regrets here. I wish I had grasped it earlier. One must ensure that compassion does not come at the expense of one's own well-being. The most significant lesson I acquired in the latter part of my life was the art of self-protection. I have never claimed to be flawless. Always a sinner. Yet, I transformed into something much greater. A woman who ultimately embraced her own life. And it became clear that it wasn't too late after all.